Hey, how's it going? I'm Michelle.
Hey, I'm Jake.
And we have been doing, this is our 5th Boundless Life cohort.
What are we gonna do? We got no more fingers.
5 cohorts. So we wanted to give, we are here in Kotor Montenegro. We wanted to give our first impressions. We will likely do a follow-up video when we've been here for the full 3 months to give our last impressions.
Yeah, a wrap.
But we wanted to throw this out there because we know that you guys have been loving the location videos. They find them really, really helpful. So we thought, we think you do.
That's assumptive.
People tell me that. People tell me that they're really helpful in making the decision.
Good.
I get a lot of messages. You might not get those messages.
Nobody's telling me I'm helpful.
Thank you all for messaging me. Okay, so listen, I have some notes because you know we can go off.
First of all, we have to start with this. What is Montenegro and where is Montenegro?
Okay. I should put a map in here. It's true. I think 9 out of 10 people that we've told we're going to Montenegro are like, where's Montenegro?
What is Montenegro?
It's a country.
Yes, it's a
in
country.
Europe, but it's not in the Schengen. Schengen or Shenzhen? I don't know, but I think it's Schengen. Okay, and that makes it a really cool Boundless Life location because a lot of people have visas that expire in 90 days with being in European Schengen countries, which includes a ton of countries, right?
Yeah, the Schengen region is most of Europe.
Including Iceland and like random places.
Yeah, and so Americans and people from some other countries can go into the Schengen for 90 days.
In a 6-month rolling period. 180-day rolling period.
And to think of it simply, you can basically spend 90 days in, and then you have to leave for 90 days.
Yeah.
Then you come back for 90 days. So,
but let's say you spend 30 days in and 30 days out, and then 30 days in, then it's like it keeps
rolling.
And
making
so
it more complicated.
Okay, there is a Schengen calculator that's very, very helpful.
Yeah.
If you're like in and out a lot. Anyway, this is what the reason for the location.
Yeah, because now you could potentially go to Syros, Greece for 3 months, then go to Kotor Montenegro for 3 months, and then go to Pistoia, Italy for 3 months. Yeah. And you'd be allowed to do that with the American visa laws into Europe.
Right. So that's the reason for Montenegro. Montenegro was part of former Yugoslavia and is surrounded by Croatia and Albania and Serbia.
All of those countries.
Bosnia.
And it's on the Adriatic Sea, part of the Mediterranean Sea. So it's basically a little bit above Greece and just to the side of Italy.
Yeah.
Across the Adriatic Sea.
Across the sea from Italy. So it's a really cool location, different than the rest of the locations, and we'll kind of get into why and how. And I do want to start this though with, we will go through the following things. We will talk about the location. I'm just going to look at my notes. We're going to talk about the culture, the activities around here, the hub, which is the co-working space for the parents, the EC, which is the school, the Boundless School, and the apartments, and kind of wrap up how it compares to the other locations, as well as would we recommend it.
And Michelle thinks we're going to do this in 15 minutes.
I'm going to try.
We're already at minute 4.
We'll try. As always, you can feel free to message me. I respond to all the messages I get. You can find me on Instagram, and that's easier for me to a lot of times go into more detail about recommendations. I will say this though, it's really hard when somebody's like, which location would you recommend? Of course, we have like our favorites, but I think a lot of it has to do with like the season of life that you're in. Like, what are the ages of your kids? What kind of activities do you like to do? Do you feel like being in inland or on the sea? Do you feel like this type of culture or that type of culture? So I think a lot goes into it.
And just what season of the year it is.
What season of the year it is, right. But so I think it's hard for us to sometimes make these recommendations because it really depends on you and your family and what you need. Like there's sometimes where I need more kind of city stuff, right? And there's sometimes where I want to be away from people. And there's sometimes where I love the chaos of Southeast Asia, and there's sometimes where I'm over it. So I think it's kind of like what you want. Okay. Flights. Let's just talk about flights really quick into this location, this Boundless location.
Yeah, so there are a couple airports in Montenegro, and I would recommend flying into Montenegro if you can. However, there aren't the best connections necessarily, so try first to fly into Tivat. It's right here. It's 20 minutes away.
Although the airport gets terrible reviews.
Yeah, but it's the closest destination, so if you can fly into Tivat, I think I would definitely choose to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've just heard it's really chaotic. I've heard it's more chaotic on the way out than the way in, but it's a bit chaotic of an airport, but honestly, the convenience is probably worth it.
Oh yeah, totally.
What's the other one with a P?
Podgorica.
Thank you. That's another airport nearby that is in Montenegro that you can also fly into.
Yeah, and the advantage of flying into Montenegro is you don't have to do any border crossings. So you just have to do border crossings here, which is a thing. And it could be a very lengthy border crossing if you're in the wrong season. So you could sit at the border for hours waiting to cross the border.
Yeah, and so the border crossing airport, the more popular airport to fly into is Dubrovnik in Croatia. From there, it takes approximately an hour and a half to get to Kotor. 2 hours. Okay, that's on a good day.
Yeah.
Okay, that is like about an hour to the border or so, I kind of forget, and then an hour here to Kotor. And the border crossing though is where it can get really crazy, and that kind of goes into a little bit of this location and like the traffic is there are not that many roads. There's not like, oh, if this road is backed up with traffic, we can just go over here. It's like if it's backed up with traffic, it goes from being a 30-minute process to hours and hours, right?
Yeah.
We arrived late in the evening into Dubrovnik and we just flew through the border. There was literally nobody there. So that was
11 o'clock at night, and luckily
nothing. So it was super easy for us. Other times, also there's some car transfers that will take you across the border in one car from Dubrovnik to Kotor, and there's others that you have to change cars at the border. If you've never done that before, it's usually pretty seamless. Honestly, it's not that hard. You just get out, get your passport stamped, cross the border, and another car's waiting for you.
Walk across with all your luggage to another car that's waiting for you.
So if you have a lot of luggage, well.
Yeah. So again, I think simplicity would say, fly into Montenegro if you can, find a connection. And a lot of times what we do is we don't necessarily say, hey, find me a flight from, I don't know, Tampa direct to Montenegro. We'll find a flight into Europe, and then we'll find a good connection that has a destination that has a connection from a European city over to.
Yeah, we'll be like, what are the best, easiest flights into like any European city? And then from there, we'll be like, is there a easy, cheaper way to get to where we want to get to?
Yeah.
Usually like Ryanair or something, which I know it's not the best, but it's usually cheap and easy. So, okay, first impressions of Montenegro.
Yeah, I would say it was a slow starter for us. We got here and we were like, what's going on here now? What are we going to do here for 3 months? Just because we weren't really oriented to the area. We didn't know, how to get around. And the cool part about it is a very good walking place. You can walk everywhere.
Yeah, and I'll say this, I was definitely the one. I think a couple things. One, we just spent the last month prior to Kotor traveling really hard. I mean, like 15 countries in a month we were traveling. And I was ready to just stop and be. And so like, again, that season in your life where you're at, like, I was just like, okay, I'm super excited to get here and just like be and figure this all out. And I think we got here and we're like, we got a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
And also I'd heard so many like, Kotor is amazing. So, you have these like expectations, and I have to say about week 2 and I was like, Kotor is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's really beautiful. The dramatic like landscape is pretty incredible. The fact that you have the sea, like literally we can walk 2 minutes, is it even 2 minutes? Yeah. Down to the water. We walk 2 to 5 minutes into Old Town. So the location's pretty awesome.
Yeah, very central and just easy access to everything. I think some of our hesitations when we first got here.
Easy access to everything in Kotor.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
I think some of our hesitation when we got here was just that the food choice wasn't quickly apparent. Like, where's the good food? Is there any bio-organic food? Are there good restaurants where we can get takeout from if we want to go have a picnic on the beach?
That's big for us, yeah. That was big for us when we know we're going to be somewhere for a while.
Yeah. And so that was a slow starter. We didn't find some of those places right away. It took a little time to find those spots.
But now I'm like, oh my gosh, I found a place to order organic food. She sent it to me, she delivered it to me. And then I was like, oh, actually in the cosmetic store on the second floor of the mall, there's a little organic packaged food section.
Obviously, it's in the cosmetic store. That's where you get packaged organic goods.
They have like a really good little organic section. And so with like just some of the like random stuff that you want, So I'm still like working on some produce, but I found like a farmer to deliver us forest wild berries and raspberries, and somebody to deliver us like goat milk and cheeses.
And she's considering buying a cow. We're gonna name her Bessie. We're gonna, foster her.
I looked into a cow share, and that's how I ended up getting the raw goat milk and stuff. So it just takes a little bit more effort. And I think what I wanted is like, I was gonna be here and I was like, okay, these are my spots I'm gonna eat. And oh my gosh, that juice place and this smoothie place. And it just took a minute, right? And now that we've kind of found a little bit more of the group, fresh or organic produce, truly organic produce is still a little bit harder to figure out.
Elusive.
Yeah, and it's hard to say like if the people are truly like, if it is, or, you know, they say they don't spray, but if they do or not. But I did find a website where I can reach out to each farmer kind of individually. It's just taking a lot of like organization.
The other thing that is really close here, there are multiple grocery stores here. Yeah. They're not the best grocery stores in the world, but there are multiple ones. So you can go here and get good apples, then you can go over here and get good lemons. Yeah. So you can bounce around, and they're right here. It's probably the location that has the closest grocery stores out of all Boundless.
Yeah, you're right. It does. And a lot of them, I think that, yeah, like you said, they're not like the best, but then you start to figure out, okay, I can get this here, and this has some good, you know, so even the like diapers, I was really worried about like having like really non-toxic diapers for our baby. And we found that in the cosmetic store on the first floor. So like, you just have to kind of ask around. And
along these lines, Amazon is not readily available here, so we can't get delivery from things online very easily. We haven't investigated some alternate routes. There might be other companies that have some
grocery delivery. We just haven't done that yet either.
Yeah. But I don't think that changes the quality. It's still just another grocery store similar to this one.
Right. So that's like kind of the good and bad, but that's kind of how it is when we travel. Every location I think has its like either the grocery store's not close, or you kind of have to pick a little here, a little there. I think the hardest part here is like, where are the like quick and easy restaurants that have healthy, delicious food? I think that's been a little bit harder to come by.
Yeah, true.
But again, slowly, the other day when we got a recommendation from another family, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is delicious.
Yeah, so there are some nice sit-down restaurants which have really high quality food and not crazy prices.
Yeah, but overall the pricing is a little bit on the touristy high side than you would guess from like Montenegro, which nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah. So something about Montenegro. So it is a cruise ship destination. Yeah. So there is between 1 and 3 cruise ships here anchored every single day. So there is a tourist population that comes on shore during the day, then they depart in the afternoon, which makes all the prices in Old Town a little higher than you may expect for a non-Schengen country.
It also makes it a little bit more crowded, especially during high season. And I will say that the cruise ships, this is end of September right now, and there's still cruise ships in most days of the week. And I believe that continues on into October. So it is it definitely has a little bit of a different vibe when you have all of those tourists. And if it's not the cruise ships, it's like buses of tourists coming in. But again, you just kind of like, it's let up a bunch. The last time we were like walking around Old Town, we were like, oh, where'd all the
we can't speak for the summer. We were not here in the summer months when it may have been even, bustling even more. But I would say even with 3 cruise ships in, multiple buses in, you can still walk around Old Town, and it's not like so crowded that you can't get through the Old Town
but it's a bit
streets.
Crowded.
Yeah.
Like when we first got here, it's a bit crowded.
2 completely conflicting views on that one.
Just saying my honest.
You just get used to kind of weaving in and out of the tour groups.
It is what it is, right? Yeah. It's fine. What's nice too, though, is that they have a decent promenade along the waterfront that you can walk along, which is really nice. There's some restaurants along there, right along the waterfront, like some playgrounds along the waterfront. Yeah. A little aquarium. The kids had a field trip there the other day. No, and again, like as there's more and more cohorts, you'll get a lot of this information faster. Being one of the first cohorts, where a lot of times like finding what we like and what we need. And I think this, as the cohorts come, then you're like, oh, okay, I already found these farm deliveries. Always come after me. I'll usually find the farm deliveries.
Come after me.
Okay, what else? Anything else about the location? I'm glad you brought up the cruise ships, because I that's a big one.
I would just say, in general, it's a beautiful harbor, cove, bay, surrounded by these giant mountains. Yeah. Extremely picturesque. And we've been swimming numerous times already. Just walk down to this little beach area.
Yeah, jump in the water. Rocky beach.
Which is good and bad. It's like you're not tracking sand everywhere. You have these little kind of gravel pebbles.
Yeah, but it's not like, you're not going to find this like gorgeous big beach where you just like relax. It's kind of like find your little spot, take a dip in the water. And it's great for just like a quick in-town dip, but it's not this like gorgeous beach. Which
is more typical of this Adriatic stretch of coastline anyway, into Croatia
but
and such.
Yeah, there are some gorgeous beaches around here, just not right here in Kotor, I would say. Okay, let's talk about the culture a little bit, people.
Yeah, so there's definitely a bit of a hardness to the people, a little bit of a coldness to the random people you meet on the streets. So they're a little bit less warm when you first meet people, I would say.
Yeah, if you're comparing it to some of the other destinations, it takes a minute to get used to that. Like, are they being rude, or are they just kind of unfriendly, or do they just like tell it how it is?
Somewhere in the middle of all of that is where they are.
Yes. So,
but I wouldn't say like I'm experiencing outright rudeness or meanness.
No,
people are just a little colder than other places.
Yeah, not super friendly.
Yeah.
Service is a bit hit or miss, whether you're going to get somebody that's friendly. It's just kind of the people. But again, that's why you're traveling and experiencing these different cultures and getting a taste for life around the world. That's all part of it. And I think if you can just kind of like take it for what it's worth. Yeah,
and along those lines though, everyone has told us it's an extremely safe place. Everyone looks out for their neighbors. Yes. There's always kind of, what do they call it? Grandma Karens that are on the lookout around the neighborhood. So everyone has communicated to us that it's extremely calm, like, safe place here.
Any time of day you can walk around and you'll be safe. Okay, safe is a relative term, right? Yeah. We always talk about that. Like, there's nothing completely safe, but I've never once felt unsafe here. No. Okay. All right, let's talk about some of the activities real quick. Because, wow, this video is going to be long. Okay. Told you so. Okay, let's talk about some of the activities. So just real quick, there's great hikes. Like, even just like right here, 5 minutes up. I mean, we just took like such a beautiful hike the other day, and we only did part of it. Yeah. And you can go up like these forts, you can go up the back way. There's like a little cafe or like something you can grab some cheese or some drinks along the way.
It's a decent trail, but I mean, hiking shoes were nice. I have these little hiking shoes. Hiking sneakers are good. You don't need to have hiking shoes, but if you have that in your bag. The other thing,
you want to feel more like a hiker.
I'm a hiker. Okay, I'm an official hiker. I don't know why you're challenging me on my hiking.
I wore gym shoes.
The other thing is there is a good amount of rain here. You know, not every day, but when it rains, it's really wet here in the Old Town such. So if you do have a waterproof sneaker or waterproof shoe that can double as a hiking
depending on the season, obviously. Like in the summer, I don't think they get any rain, but we have experienced a bunch of days of rain in September. Not like bad, just kind of like, okay, it's raining today, but then the next, I mean, right now it's 75 and beautiful. So,
or oftentimes it rains in the morning, then it's clear the rest of the day.
Right. Yeah. It's just like part of the day. But the hiking is really beautiful and really fun. I'm excited to do that some more as well. Yeah. Okay. Old Town, of course, you can walk around. There's tons of cafes and little shops and touristy things, you know, it's just like a cool town to kind of meander in.
Every time I walk through Old Town, I think I need to spend more time here just getting lost. Just sitting in a cafe. Yeah. There's so many cafes, so many cute little caverns and
lots of cash, again, kind of like Syros, which helps take care of the rodent population, I guess.
You gotta choose. Do you like cats or do you like rats? I choose cats.
Okay, me too. You can kind of walk a little bit along the wall. Like old wall a little bit. So
elevated, like
I think there's free walking tours in Kotor too. You could look into. There's even like some kind of hop on, hop off bus, which I think I saw. It's a smaller version of like an open air kind of thing that I think takes you maybe around to different areas and maybe different towns surrounding Kotor. I've not done it yet. Oh, we did a really cool boat tour. We rented a private boat, speedboat, and it took us to like Blue Cave. We swam. We did.
All the hot spots along the way.
Like the submarine tunnels, then like that Our Lady of the Rocks thing. That was fun.
Yeah, and there are 1,000 vendors who will try to book you on their boat tour. So you have to pick one and go with it. You can go with a group of people on a bigger boat. I think we had Michelle's parents in town, so it made sense for us to have a private boat, and that was sort of the way to do it. You got to spend more time at the things you want to do. And less times at the things you were less interested in. And it was great,
as long as like, you know, you just have to check the weather, the water, obviously, when you do any water thing. The one thing I will just give a couple tips, like, and especially here, if you know what you like in a tour, you're like, these things make it for me, or these things break it. Like, my suggestion is if you're gonna book something private, let that tour operator or person know. Like, to me, a friendly guide, given like what we said about the culture and some of our experiences, I wanted like an overly friendly guide to tell us a little bit about the history and stuff, and so just like communicate that.
Yeah. Or hey, we're gonna have really little kids. We want to make sure that somebody is good with little kids on the boat, or won't be chain smoking the whole time we're on the boat. You know, things like that. Make sure you communicate.
That's another thing. Europe, smoking everywhere. Oh my gosh, everywhere.
Another thing we did, we also went just out of town. We took a taxi to the cable car,
that was beautiful.
And went just through the tunnel. There's a cable car that goes up the mountain, and on top of the mountain they have a whole neighborhood of activities. A bar, a restaurant.
Alpine coaster.
Coaster,
fun.
You go.
So fun.
So fast.
That was fun, and that
was a great afternoon.
Thing. So that's a really fun thing to do. Yesterday the moms, we all went to Kraken. It was like a winery on like a floating raft where they keep the wine under the sea. A little bit questionable, like how real they're actually where that wine's coming from. Nonetheless, it was a really fun experience. I definitely recommend it just for the experience and fun of it. You're like just floating along. They pull up the wine from the sea and that they have to like kind of store there, almost like the refrigerator. They pull up the mussels that they have their crates there and cook them for you. And it was really good and really fun experience. We went for a quick swim. It's very cold. So that was fun too. And so there's all these like little things that we're just finding. I think it's just taking a little bit more time to like find these cool little activities. And you play paddle a few times, like a pickleball-y, racquetball type of sport.
Yeah, and that's another town away, so it's a 20-minute taxi ride. So not as convenient to get to as some of the other destinations, but playing paddle with a bunch of people, so who have 2 courts and 8 people will play for a couple hours and take a taxi back. Yeah. It's been really fun.
And then there's a gym and a little shopping mall, literally 2 minutes away. The gym is nothing to write home about. At first I was like I was hoping this beautiful wellness center. Okay, it's not that, but it's perfectly functional. One of the moms has been once a week, does like a workout class, which is a lot of fun. And then Boundless hosts once a week a Pilates or yoga class, which has been really fun.
I will say this is one of the most active locations I've had personally. Like every day this week I did a hike on Monday, gym on Tuesday, paddle on Wednesday, yoga, gym, hike, so there's a lot to do if you want to do it.
And when the other families are active too, it's fun. It makes everybody kind of be active together. There's also like you can rent kayaks, you can rent paddle boards. I find them a little bit on the pricey side, again, because you're in this like really kind of touristy, cruise tourist kind of prices.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can negotiate, especially as you get a little off season. And I will say one thing though, not related to activities, but the traffic can be, we kind of alluded to this at first, but it can be a little bit tricky, right?
Yeah, even just going to go to play paddle, which is a game similar to, I don't know, tennis, pickleball, squash.
Racquetball, yeah.
Anyway, to go to Tava, it should just be a 20-minute taxi ride. And on the way back, you may get caught and it might take an hour just because there's a 1-lane tunnel you have to go through. And all of a sudden, all the cars are coming packing into the Old Town area. So traffic can be very unpredictable in that way.
And I will say also that let's just talk about a little bit about the location and feeling like the freedom to just like go is a little bit harder, right? I mean, I guess if you think about all the locations, there's some like Syros is just Syros, but it was like easy to grab a taxi and not that expensive
or jump on a ferry.
Yeah, rent a car. I guess parking was always a bit difficult at all the places, but this is just it's seeming like it's taking a little bit more effort to figure out like how to coordinate, how to get stuff. The community manager, general manager here is great and always willing to help to figure out car rentals, and he has a guy for everything.
But so unlike other places, there's no Uber or Uber comparison. There are taxis, which are a little more expensive. There are no rental car place right here. You kind of have to go through the manager and find a car rental place. There's no train right here. The bus is like, local.
I wish there were like boat taxis or something, take you all these little towns, but there's not.
Yeah.
Or at least that we've kind of figured out yet. Apparently there's some ferries, but we haven't really, it's not like.
They're not as.
Yeah, I think you have to go to some of the other towns to catch the ferry.
Yeah.
So
you're a little bit here in Kotor, and there's a lot to do here, but you may feel like, hey, how do I get to the next place?
Yeah. And
you need to plan ahead to do that. Usually through a rental car.
And I think like, again, being one of the first cohorts, it's like, okay, I think after this, it'll be like, okay, this family did this and this family, and seeing all these different activities. I'm starting to find some of those anyway, but it definitely is going to be like, okay, I'm going to take a tour to this national park or something, because it's going to be a little harder than to just rent a car and go freely.
And 2 of the families here, they shared and they rented a car for the whole month, so they feel like they have a little more accessibility to just jump in the car and go.
And there was a family that took a day trip to Albania. So, I mean, it's all possible, right? But again, it could turn into like what might be like a 2-hour trip to a town could on the way back turn into a
double.
So the traffic is a little bit unpredictable in that way. Okay, hub.
Yeah, so talking about some of the Boundless resources here. So the hub is the co-working space.
Let's just say we don't work for Boundless, and we are not always in the know of like everything changed. We go to a lot of Boundless cohorts, so we feel like we're pretty up to date on everything, but they've already talked about maybe having a bigger hub at some point, right?
Yeah.
So what we might describe now might change a little bit,
Yeah,
but
so
in general, it's,
check into what's going on at your current time.
Yeah.
But right now the hub is in the main, so there's one main building that is kind of a boundless property. And so in that building is the hub, which is the co-working space. There's the EC, the school, and the apartment, some of the family apartments all in one single building. Yeah. So the hub co-working space is really clean, really nice, very easy to access,
really easy.
Available 24 hours a day.
Lots of natural
has
light.
3 sound booths or pods for more private calls, has excellent internet.
Tables to work at,
You
little
can sit
kitchenette.
there's an huge outdoor area. You can sit outside and work.
Yeah.
So it's quite functional, useful. It's not huge, but there's a lot of space for enough people to work in it.
It's really nice. I mean, they just kind of renovated this whole property, so it's quite nice.
Yeah.
I like the hub. I mean, I haven't utilized it a ton, but it's like super convenient right there. And it's also kind of a gathering space for adults and stuff, just to.
Yeah, it's less of like a, hey, everyone's gonna come here and hang out, or it's not like that. It's more of a working space this session anyway.
Yeah, and that's how the hub should really be.
Yeah.
I think they've kind of, there should be like more areas for the adult co-working type of stuff. But speaking of, okay, so then you have the EC also on that first level. And the EC is the school for Boundless. And so talk a little
Education
bit about that.
Center.
Okay, yes.
EC. And so it's a really good layout. They have separate classrooms for each of the different age groups, and I think they're separated really well.
And lots of natural light.
Yeah, surrounded by the whole building, so lots of light into each class. And they have some access from class to class when they want to do some shared resources, shared learning time. And so the indoor areas have been really great. I think they really fit all the students well. And then there's an outdoor area where the little kids go for playground time or recess time, outdoor time.
That is still being built. It's small. That one's small.
Yeah.
It's still being built, but it's looking like it's coming along.
Yeah, and when we got here, there was no shade. Now they're building this nice big structure, shaded structure. So I think they've got a good vision for it, and it's going to continue to improve.
How the kind of layout is also like you walk, where you enter for the apartments is also where you would enter for the school. Which honestly, it's kind of like just a great gathering spot. It's a little bit tight for all the parents that pick up and stuff, but it's also, I love that time because it's a way to kind of catch up with some of the other families and such. A little bit also about the education center is this location, this cohort has had great staff. We are a little bit worried being one of the first cohorts, but I think they've really gotten it together. Great staff, really great teachers. I've been really impressed so far.
You may be concerned about, Montenegro, are they going to speak English? Great English speakers in all the classes. The teachers are, the educators are, and really caring, really warm teachers, educators that we've seen around our kids.
And then like all the other locations too, they have like the same look and feel, that like kind of naturally light wood feel, the Montessori kind of toys and stuff. They have a little library for the kids that you can check out books and take them home, which is really nice, especially for families that are traveling, that our kids rely on the Kindle so much, that we love that they have like these physical books that can check in and out all the time. So that's also a bonus. So like the other locations. So let's move on to the apartments. Yeah,
so we are actually staying in the community building. So we're above the EC and the hub.
And there's 2 floors of apartments above the EC and the hub.
So I think there are 8 apartments, 4 on each floor.
Okay.
And large.
I counted. I think you're right.
Super soundproof, amazingly soundproof.
They're like thick walls, thick doors. Yeah. The halls echo.
We have a lot of young, loud kids in the building, including our own. And you can't hear anything when you're in your apartment with the doors closed. It's very soundproofed, which has been great.
Pretty sure when Joby wakes up and he's screaming sometimes.
Sorry about that, everyone else.
There might be a little bit of it you can hear. Sometimes on our game nights might have been a little bit too fun sometimes. There's a little bit of echo. But honestly, it's quite soundproof.
And they all have a little bit of outdoor space. Everyone has a balcony.
Yeah. So. You can also see our video of our apartment. It's nice and spacious. We have a nice big patio. They're all a little bit different layouts and patios.
And they have nice furniture that they included.
It's all been recently renovated. So honestly, it just feels comfortable. You know how sometimes you just want to like feel comfortable in your space that you're going to be in for a while. So this feels super comfortable. I was worried the kitchen was going to be too small. And yes, it's small, but it's like open and it works. I really have no complaints.
Dishwasher, all the things.
We have 3 or 2.5 bathrooms.
Yeah, and so really clean. I mean, if you had a young baby crawling, very good crawling surfaces.
Yeah, that's always something we
We
always
have
look
dinner outside regularly, so really nice to be able to sit and look up the mountain, enjoy the mountain.
Yeah, and I will say that the space outside too, a lot of times after school, the kids all gather and play. It's not like green space, and it's not necessarily like kids space. It's just kind of part of this whole complex. And the kids run and play a lot. They do like, they're always out there. So, and it's been very convenient. The kids are just like, okay, our friends are downstairs, we're just gonna go out and play. And there's some like, just space for them to run.
Yeah, and it's a big scooter spots because there's a lot of flat, even tile space outside.
There's
on the
always
first
some
level,
like little hazards of stairs and stuff that maybe, but that's honestly if you travel.
Helicopter mom over here. Don't let the kids have any fun. Let
I'm-
them scooter.
I'm just saying that, they're just, if you're worried about that kind of stuff, it's not like American standards necessarily all the time, but that's kind of how it is everywhere we travel.
The other apartments that are not in this building, so some are just up the hill, and the hill is a little bit steep, so that's certainly you should factor into your decision. But the views from some of those other apartments are beautiful.
And there's not a great sidewalk, I will say, either.
No, that's true.
But again,
but the benefit is you get up there and you're in an apartment and you're just looking out over the whole bay.
Where we're looking at other apartments, a little bit of the mountain, a little bit of open space, but it's not like we have a view, right?
Right.
I mean, we can go out on our patio and have a little view of the mountain, which is nice, but if you go up the hill and you do that, can be really, really pretty. We are always going back and forth, like, do we want to do the community building? I think it really depends on the families that you have there. It's been a little bit hit or miss in some locations if we feel like, we want to do that. And we're not completely open door policy people. I love like when kids come knocking and like want to play and all that kind of stuff, but there's also times I like to like close the door and that's it. We're with our family, we're having dinner or whatever. And it's felt like very much like at least all the families here have been so considerate and just fun. We're so grateful to be here. And also we have Jovi, who is 2, starting school, and it's been really convenient for us because he's having a hard time
adjusting to school. So it's easy to like drop him off right in the morning really quickly. If we have to pick him up early.
I will say that the teachers and the other kids, I thought honestly, I was going to be like, that's my excuse to pull him. And they have been wonderful. Yeah,
they've been fantastic helping to make this adjustment.
And just so nice to us about like, okay, you can stay for a little bit and help him get adjusted and figuring it out. So it's not so like, you just have to drop him off and hand him off and, All right, so
the apartments in general have been fantastic. We've been really happy here. The community feel is awesome.
Oh, and the maintenance. Like I'm like, could I have a couple extra pillows? And like, I feel like I barely submit a ticket and it's like, somebody's at the door with 2 pillows. We were like, is there any way we can get like a wine bottle opener? We don't see one in our apartment. They're like, oh, we should have had one, absolutely. And it's like at our door.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. It's like so
very
quick,
responsive.
Yeah.
It's been great.
So that's been really great too. I guess that goes back to the staff.
Should you go to Kotor, Montenegro, you might want to look at a map and find out where it is first. After you do that, you should say, should we go to Kotor or somewhere else? What would you tell somebody?
I always say yes, because I generally think it's really fun to explore different places. And it's kind of boring to like just stay in your silo of like that, I will say though, like every spot, sometimes when we absolutely love a spot, like we love Bali, but some people like hate it, Yeah. And so I think it's, again, that season of your life that you're in, what are you looking for? I think this is a really cool destination because it has the mountains, the sea, and this old town feel, but it does feel a little bit like harder to figure out how to go explore Montenegro in general.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the downside. And I think the other downsides we've kind of already started checking off, like, oh, there is some great produce. There's some great food and stuff. We just needed to kind of take a minute to find it.
Do you think that Kotor is for first-time Boundless families?
It's funny because I think all the families here are, in this particular session, are decently well-traveled or have traveled before. What would you say? See, I'm usually like, just try it, like what's the worst that can happen? You have a great experience, like it's all part of the experience. But I think this might be a little bit, but I think all the destinations have a little bit hard
Maybe
in some ways.
two-part question though. Is it for first-time Boundless families or is it for first-time traveling families? Maybe for first-time traveling families, it's a little harder to get to, a little harder to venture out from here. But once you're here, it's actually quite easy to get around Kotor itself.
Yeah, and we've been taking the stroller everywhere. and it's been fine.
Yeah, strollers work in Old Town really well. It's
but-
not like bad cobblestones, anything like that.
No. So, yeah, I mean, I think when I think back to all the locations, they all have their like, just like traveling anywhere. It has its like pros and cons for sure. But I'm really starting to settle in here and really loving it and just like loving the ease of like life, like dropping off the kids, having some time for ourselves, having some time socializing with the other parents, some time to work, and then explore a little bit of these like different things to do around here.
What's the answer? Are you going to send them here or not?
Yes.
Yes.
I say try it.
And then I think the other question is, what seasons would be good here? Because some people have said, you know, in the summer it's very crowded, but it's also, the water is gorgeous and you can swim and it's beautiful, refreshing water right here, accessible.
Right.
The shoulder seasons, the fall and the spring, like we're in the fall here, really nice weather, not hot, not cold right now.
It's been really great, honestly.
Loving this temperature.
Yeah, I love this temperature.
I don't know what would it be like in January.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just adjust, like you go some places and like you experience different things in different seasons, right? It's just a different vibe. I think you could almost come back and try different seasons in all the locations and experience a little bit different vibe. But I think Kotor has a lot to offer. And I think that the way that EC is set up, just the ease of being here, it might end up being one of my favorite cohorts, to be honest. So I think that says a lot about, yeah.
I do. I love Kotor. Again, I think we share the same sentiments that it's a little harder to get out, a little harder to venture out. But maybe we're going to rent a car in a couple weekends and love that experience too. So I think we'll keep that open and we'll get to more of that in the wrap up.
Yeah.
Is this your favorite Boundless location?
Still to be determined.
TBD.
Okay, we'll do that in part 2.
But I will say, I love the combination of the Old Town plus being able to go and jump in the water. That mix is not always together.
Right.
You know, like in Pistoia, for example, beautiful Old Town, walk through the old plazas and everything, but then you have to take a train to get to the water. Here, you just walk down the street and jump in the water.
Right. No, that's true. That's really true. Okay, let's wrap that up. We'll do a part 2 where we kind of come back and
almost at 15 minutes.
I do want to say one thing. If you found this video helpful, if you are a first-time Boundless family that wants a little bit of a discount off your stay, you can use our referral code. I will put it here, and that will get you €600 off of your first Boundless stay. It also gives us a little bit off of our next one, which is nice. If you have any questions, as always, you can message us here or find me on Instagram. I'm quite responsive there.
And if you have any questions for me,
you can't find
ask
him
Michelle
anywhere.
to ask me, and I will answer the question via her.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's good. Yeah, you can ask Jake specifically. Okay, hope this is helpful. We will talk to you all soon with part 2 of Montenegro.
Ciao.